Hello, all. My name is Erta the Wanderer, and I've come out of the jungle today to talk to one of our most esteemed generals, the great Lizard Wizard. How are we doing today, Wizard?
I'm doing rather well. How are you doing?
So far, things are going all right. But today we have come across a big green menace, one that I have a personal grudge against, but we'll see how they're doing, especially after the recent changes. Today we're talking orcs. Let's see.
Orks.
Orcs. Oh man. There was a time not too far distance where I would have argued solidly they were the best army in the game. But, hmm?
I think they're still a really good army.
Oh, most certainly.
But I also like their three armies, which is really cool that like they built a battle tome that is legitimately three separate armies.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and like all three of them are A or B tier.
Hmm.
Um,
The orcs might
Super solid.
argue, and especially the ogres argue that they don't want to share. But,
Yeah, yeah.
oh man. Yep, they came out swinging, and they hit
Hmm.
pretty hard. And though for a while they tended to be more low key good than anything else because orc
Hmm.
players don't play orcs well.
Yeah, the army really benefits patient play instead of just run across the table hit you play.
But they're
Um,
orcs.
exactly, and a lot of people who play orcs for so long, that's been the modus operandi. It's like a red deck in Magic: just go hard and fast and hope you kill them before they get to retaliate.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how a lot of people still play orcs.
Yeah,
Um,
they had
but
all the tools to do it, so it even looks on face value that's how they were supposed to be played.
yep. But just because of what the meta was and the other armies in it, they're really like a turn 2 to 3 army. They don't shine nearly as much turn one. And it's, I think, mostly because of their save characteristic. When you launch something that far forward, it's gonna die when you have a 4+ save.
Hmm.
Um,
Unless your entire army is going that far forward.
exactly. So just because it protects the obliques and all that stuff. So I think that's why they had some underperformance, was people throwing something in and it getting stranded and then taken out. But yeah, no, the army's amazing.
Hmm. And even with the poor performance, they were like in the top four.
Yeah, yeah, they
So
they were, and they also, in all fairness, came out during the predominance of Hedon Knights of Slanesh, uh, who
yeah,
did give them a pretty rough matchup. Um,
they could solidly. Yeah, they all have two wounds, so depravity was everywhere. And even
exactly.
then, they could usually grind their way through a couple of keepers if they needed to.
Oh yeah, for sure. The problem was is they would get them back as quick as they killed them frequently.
Yep,
Um,
because Slanesh.
yeah, yep. Because their summoning was insane then, and getting off your spells was way harder when there's the contorted epitome, and you were always fighting last with everything because that hadn't been nerfed yet.
Mm,
Um, so I think that's the main reason they didn't perform at like top tier when they came out.
yeah,
Like,
or at least not number one.
yeah, yeah, like they were always at top tables or in the like 4-1 range for GTs MTs.
Yeah, everyone was talking about cities because cities had this stupid broken stuff, but orcs are just overall quality.
Yes. Yep.
Anything that can be two wounds, hits on twos, wounds on twos, damage two, because golly
Rend
jeep,
one.
rend one, because golly jeepers, that one the war chanter is a stupidly powerful buff on orcs.
Yeah, and they're all at least 2 attacks each on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like their their value is in their war scrolls. Um,
Yep, and probably that's the number one reason why I was so tough on Seraphon when we came out, because I see much more value in war scrolls than value in synergy.
mm. Yeah, value and synergy requires good play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it requires an opponent not being able to remove this synergy.
Right.
Whereas just all around good war scrolls, which is also like I would say Slanesh is, or wow. Slaves to Darkness is very much like that. The powers in the War Scrolls, not the synergy, they're just not as good as War Scrolls as War Clans.
Hmm. But yeah, as you were saying, orcs have three predominant armies. We have Iron Jaws, the big armored god seekers. We have Bone Splitters, the no armored god seekers, and we have Big Law, where everyone wants to punch everyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, and in addition to that, I would say the Battle Tome could have been had a surtitle of Rogue Idol, um,
that one
because
didn't become apparent for a while, though.
yeah, uh, because it's the best thing in their army and it's not in their Battle Tome.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's a Forge
yeah,
World thing, isn't it?
yeah, it's Forge
Yeah,
World.
that would be another
Um,
reason.
but every Rogue Idol I've ever seen in my life was not the Forge World Rogue Idol. It was like someone super gluing or glue gunning rocks together or getting like the knockoff version.
Hmm.
It's just, I think, a big ask for people to pay that much
Yeah,
for two piles of rocks.
it's like what, 160, 180 for that model?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's one of the main reasons. Plus, orcs in AOS are also orcs in 40k, and 40k has the rule that as long as you can make it look orky, it's a model you can use.
yes.
So I think that carried over, and the Rogue Idol's the only really good model to do that with. Luckily for them, it's a good monster. That is a rarity in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like build an army around Good Monster.
Hmm.
It went from 400 points to 420. So that definitely hurt it. Uh, but it's amazing. It's got two melee profiles. It's got Boulder Fist and Stomping Feet. Boulder Fist is a 3-inch range,
Oh
two attacks, threes and twos, Ren 2, d6 damage. And then it's got Stomping Feet, which is a 2-inch range, threes and threes, Ren 2, 2 damage. And that's their tier attack. So it starts at 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 for the number of attacks.
okay, so not it
Um,
doesn't drop off terribly badly then.
No, and it's a 16 wound model. So you have to deal 5 damage to knock off attacks, and then you only knock off 2 attacks. Then you
Mm.
have to do 9 damage in total to have knocked off another 2. Uh, and it's quite possible to get them to a decent save depending on which army you're running them in. But their baseline of 4 plus save and their baseline 10-inch movement, which
That
is way more than that because of the allegiance abilities for all 3 different armies.
we'll definitely get
Um,
to that. But yeah,
yeah,
do you think it's just the fact that they don't profile badly that makes them a good monster?
so they don't profile badly. They have Avalanche, which is mortal wounds on the charge, the
Hmm.
standard 4 plus D3, like that thing. They have a 5 plus save after save. Um, they've got
Oh,
Living
that would do
Idol.
it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
5 plus. Yeah, the main problems monsters have is being really easy to kill. A 5 up after save pretty much fixes that. That's the same thing with Stonehorns.
yes. And so then they've also got a couple other really good things. They've got Living Idol, which adds 1 to the casting bonus of friendly Orc wizards and Grot wizards.
Which
If the
everyone needs at
wizard's
the
within
moment.
exactly, if they're within 6 inches of it. So that's why you sometimes see like a Rogue Idol in a Grot list with like the Loon King. That was going around for a bit, and I think that's actually what spawned the like, oh wow, this is even better in Oryx.
Hmm.
Because there were a couple tournament lists that ended up having the Gloomspike Gits with Rogue Idol. And then Oric players are just like, hey, you found a good thing. We're going to take it and make it better because we have a better book.
Hmm.
And then it adds 1 bravery, which is actually pretty big for Oryx because they're destruction, and destruction does not have great bravery.
Which seems so
Um,
weird for orcs.
yeah, I know, right? It seems like with ogres, where how if they're in combat, they're eating, they're happy, they're not going to run. It seems like if orcs are in combat, they should get bonuses to their bravery. But
Granted,
that's
they
a whole
don't need
other side.
anything else. They're already
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
it's a
But
good army. Um, and then it's just got some other like throw out mortal wound stuff. They reroll ones to hit if they've charged. They do mortal wounds on a 4 plus. So it's for each enemy unit within 3 inches at the end of combat. On a 4 plus, it takes a mortal wound.
so,
Those are all pretty incidental chip damage.
mm,
But overall, they put out a bunch of damage, and they're great platforms to buff.
So,
and all three factions have good buffs for them.
so the only thing, yeah, the reason why it's a good monster is because it's durable, does a lot of damage, fairly quick, especially with things we'll be getting to, and supports wizards.
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
Like
it takes so
it
much to
does
make
so
monsters
much.
good.
Yeah. It is expensive though, like 420 points
Yep.
when you consider like you could get way more wounds in
I mean that's like,
boys.
yeah, that's like 20 hard boys plus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you're looking at 40 wounds instead of 16.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Pl-
but yeah,
yep. But
it's I think the Rin 2 is also a big part of what makes it a functional monster.
yeah, that said, bone splitters aren't wanting for rend. They've got other things that make them really dangerous. But let's see.
Yes.
Who should we start with of the big three?
Let's go Iron Jaws and then Bone Splitters and then Big Wah, since it's kind of a mix of the
Fair enough.
two.
Ironjaws are the most straightforward. They just do really good base stats.
Yeah. So their battle traits, the first one, it's like eager to fight or something like that. It's just an all around add one to charge rolls, um, which is big because
Yeah.
all of the Iron Jaws units have musicians and other things that give them pluses.
Mm,
So I think most Iron Jaw units are sitting at a base +3 to charge.
eager for battle.
Um, Eager for battle. There we go.
Yep.
And then there's Mad as Hell, which is
Such a fun
any,
ability.
and it's so good.
Yeah.
Like it's so punishing. Anytime they take damage, at the end of the phase in which they took that damage, as long as the unit is more than 9 inches from enemy units, that unit can move d6 inches.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Like you don't want to just do plink damage against them because you're giving them free movement.
And movement is
Um,
king in this game. But yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So be careful when throwing comets at them. Be careful with Divine Deliverance because they can take it and then they move closer to Croak. And they can kill Croak.
Exactly. Yes. Uh,
And
the other thing is they have their shaman has a green puke spell.
yeah, that they can hit
Um,
themselves with.
yeah, they can damage themselves with it to gain D6 movement.
Yeah, it's
Um,
why they're so deceptively fast. That and Mighty
and
Destroyers.
if I remember right, green puke can be cast any number of times. Um,
Uh, yes. Plus they get a bonus one if they if under certain conditions.
yeah. So like that's huge. Smashing and bashing. If you knew the old edition, uh, smashing and bashing got a huge buff. It's exactly the same. If you fully killed a unit with Iron Jaws, then you can pick another Iron Jaws unit to attack that hasn't fought yet.
Mm-hmm.
This used to have a range limit where you had to pick an Iron Jaws unit within 6 inches of the one that just fought.
Which was kind of silly.
It was silly, but I think it was needed at that time in Age of Sigmar when it was around.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's no age limit. Like you can just do it across the table.
Yeah, I
Um,
I used to have such problems with Iron Jaws with our old book. I mean,
well, yeah,
fighting anything
skinks
with
were
their old books.
useless against them because you couldn't wear a fighter because they were just going to kill the unit
Mm-hmm.
and then smash and bash and kill a unit. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
you'd need very very careful positioning, and you only summoned in units of 10 to just limit how many unit models they got in. That and with
yeah,
how
yeah.
quick they are, orcs could do almost better position play than old skinks.
Agreed. Especially with the Ard Boys battalion, Ardfist with the Ardfist battalion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other allegiance, like Iron Jaws has like 5 freaking allegiance abilities.
And they're
'Cause they've also
all
got mighty,
good. They don't have
yeah,
a dud amongst them. Iron
they've got
Jaws Wa isn't great, but
yeah,
still.
they've got a generic 2 generic command abilities. One is Mighty Destroyers, the other is Iron Jaws Wall. Mighty Destroyers lets you pay a command point, pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 of the unit that used it, or wholly within 18 if your general used it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not an enemy model within 12 inches of them, they can move
If there
their
is,
move.
they can charge, and if they're in melee, they can fight.
Yeah, but what this means is that Rogue Idol that has a 10-inch movement, for a command point, now it's got a 20-inch movement.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting +1 to
Yeah,
charge.
same with
So
boars because boars are similarly fast.
Yep. And there's no limit to the number of times it can be used, only the amount of command points you have.
Yeah.
Um, which is part of why the Iron Fist Battalion, or whatever the one is that gives you the model of the unit gets to use Mighty Destroyers for free. I can't remember what it's called now. I don't have the book.
There are actually several that do that, depending on what we're talking about. But yeah, you can.
Uh, there's the command trait, and then there's the battalion that gives Mighty Destroyers as a battalion benefit,
Mhm.
as long as whatever model in the unit you nominate is still on the field. Um,
Yeah, and that unit counts as a place that they can cast it from.
yes. It
Uh,
basically promotes a sergeant to a hero without giving it the hero keyword. Um, and gives them a free command trait, because one of the command traits they can take is to do that for free.
yeah,
Um,
it would be an Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. Okay, it was the Iron Fist. Yeah, so Mighty Destroyers is amazing. If they're within 3 inches, meaning they're in combat with the unit, they can pile in and fight. Um,
Which is great because orcs are good at it.
yep, yeah. Uh, so it's just like it's so good. Um, and then their Iron Jaws Wah is uh, fairly unchanged.
Yeah, once per
It's a
battle.
command ability. You can now, yep, exactly. You can only do it once per battle. So there's no old book where you were cycling Aether Quartz
Mm.
to like dump 12 command points in it and get plus 12 attacks. Um, that's also gone. Um, so it's once per battle. It has to be at the start of your combat phase. And your army has to have a mega boss general. Then you count up the number of units that are within 18 inches, and I think it's wholly within 18 inches of the general.
Yep.
You roll it dice, and then an 11 or lower, counting all the units that you've added up to the dice roll, all friendly Iron Jaws in range get +1 to their attacks. If it's 12 or more, they get +2 to their attacks.
Yeah, I don't think that needed to be limited to once per battle.
I agree. I also don't think it's going to rarely be at +2, because Iron Jaws are fairly expensive and you don't want to run them in
Yeah,
MSUs
you'd have.
because you're trying to trigger smashing and bashing.
Mm, yeah, you want, and you don't want to mob up your heroes with them because they're supporting everybody,
Exactly. So it's generally speaking a once per battle +1 attack to a bunch of different guys within 18 inches of a mega boss.
which isn't
Um,
bad, but
yeah, it's still great. Like it's solid.
it also requires
Um,
you to take a mega boss though.
yeah. I feel like the only mega boss that's worth taking is the Maw Crusher, and I don't actually like running Maw Crushers and Iron Jaws at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of fun. So much of the stuff in Orcs is fun. They're really good at,
Agreed. Yeah.
and they're really make good at making their fun stuff work because not much in their book is bad, but
Nothing is a trap. Like it's all worth the points you pay for it.
mm-hmm.
Some of it's just more point efficient.
Right, which is amazing. Good job,
Yes.
GW. Credit where credit's due. You made all the awesome
The
stuff good.
the one thing I don't like about Iron Jaws, uh, because they've also got their own sub factions, which are okay. I don't dislike either. But the way they split their command traits are either weird knob shamans or mega bosses. Um, and I don't know. The shaman I'd probably take, but honestly, I'm fine using just 3 war chantas and not bothering with the others.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
because
shame they
that's the
don't
other
just have
standout
generic
unit
ones.
of Iron Jaws. Yeah, yeah. But they're all decent. Like you can get +1 to save, you can get reroll attack rolls, um, you can get an increased range on your Mighty Wah. Um, you can get +1 to casting and unbinding, which is actually really good for weird knob shamans.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm bringing a shaman and I'm not bringing a sub faction, a shaman's my general just for the +1 to cast command trait,
Right,
um,
but
because of how important it is.
yeah, but you didn't mention war chanters, and I think that war chanters have a good argument for being like in the top 5 best buff heroes in the entire game.
Yeah, because you get to pick a beat for them,
Yep,
which is
get 'em beat,
4+ do a
fix it beat,
thing.
and kill a beat.
Yeah. So they've got that, which are all great. And then their baseline ability is basically like our Seraphon sticks. You
Yep.
just pick a unit
Double
and you add
damage.
one to its damage. Yep. And they have a bunch of one damage attacks, so it's effectively double damage.
Yeah, but they are a combination of a better version of our Serpent Staff and a not as good version of our 3d6 to
Please.
charge,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because that's the one that you use, because Get 'em Beat is so good, and they take a already good unit, Ardboys, and they make it amazing.
Yeah.
Can do they only buff Iron Jaws, or can they work with?
I'm almost certain that it
Yeah, I'm
specifies
pretty sure
Iron
as
Jaws, but
well.
now I gotta check now.
Because if they buff Bone Splitters, then I can see a couple fun
I'm
things
like
do it.
95% certain. Uh, yes, Violent Fury. In your hero phase, pick one Iron Jaws unit wholly
Okay,
within 15. Add one to the damage inflicted by attacks.
say Levy.
Uh, yeah, but they're an orc and they're an Iron Jaws, so there's 6 wounds with a 4+ save. Like you actually have to put some stuff into them to kill them. You
Mm.
can't just throw something like you're not gonna plink them down quick enough with Comet's Call to remove them in a timely manner.
Yeah, so we have
Like
to
you're
be
gonna,
careful.
yeah, we actually have to devote something to get rid of them. Um,
You could
they've
prob
got mount traits. All their mount traits are cool, but if they're bringing a Maw Crusher in place of a Rogue Idol, they already made it easier for you, anyways.
Yep. Like you said though, some of them are great, especially with mixed with like the rend reduction ability that I believe is it Iron Suns has.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that they can make a really durable monster. So, like I said, their for fun stuff works really well, like
Yes.
surprisingly well.
Their lores are all pretty good. There's two that matter. The Big Green Hand of Gork, which is a teleport. It goes
Hmm.
off on a 7+. The unit has to be wholly within 24 inches of it, more than 3 inches from enemy. So it's not like a true teleport.
Yeah,
They can't combat when they use it.
but they don't
But
want
then
to.
it's standard low sat, 9 inches away, can't move.
Yeah, they
Um,
don't want to leave combat anyway. They'll
yeah,
just fight until they die. The big hand of Gork is made to get them to.
two there.
Yep.
Yes. Um, but yeah, if like when it gets to late game, you do want to make sure that you're keeping them tapped down if they still have their shaman up, because you don't want them to green hand onto an objective.
Hmm.
Like it's just something to be aware of. But keep in mind that a lot of their stuff's going to get +3 to charging. So that 9 inches away is only a 6 inch charge. And if they're bringing cogs, it's only a 4 inch charge. Which a lot of Iron Jaws and Big Wah and Doc or Bone Splitters, a lot of people fit in cogs for that very reason.
Yep. So
Uh,
that save a dispel. You don't want
yep,
cogs dropping. It doesn't matter if it helps your guys.
yep. Cogs and Green Hand, those are the spells you want to be stopping.
Mm.
Wrath of Gork is also one to be aware of. Um,
Yeah.
at least I think that's the one it is. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's mortal wounds. It's one of their better ways to throw out mortal wounds. You want to stop it.
Yeah, it is on
Uh,
an 8 plus, so it's not going to be easy to stop because if it goes off, it's going to be a high number. But
yeah, you're frequently looking at a +2 to cast because you've got the shaman with command trait if that's what they're running, and then you've got the rogue idol. Um, so a lot of times they're going to be at +2, which is definitely something we can deal with. It's pretty easy to get to +2 innate unbind for us.
mm. So
Um,
it's a flat wizard duel, which,
yeah, yep,
considering their orcs, surprises you.
I know, right? And then their last thing is that they've got clans. They've got 2 clans they can choose. Oh, I guess they've got more.
They've got
Uh,
Iron Suns, Blood Tooths, and Dechapas. Dechapas is wasn't in the original book, I don't believe. It got added in a dwarf, I believe.
oh, White Dwarf. Okay, yeah, I didn't recognize it. Like literally when I saw it pop up, I didn't recognize it. Iron Suns is the one. Um, they get -1 to hit rolls for all enemy attacks in the first battle round,
Which
which
sucks. Oh gosh, does this suck? It doesn't matter if
well,
you outdrop them because it's impossible to actually kill them.
exactly. It helps them so much against cities of Sigmar, against Caradron overlords, against everything. Like -1 to hit first battle round is massive, especially for an army who can get to you battle round one if they take the start of the turn.
Hello, IDK. Goodbye,
Hmm.
IDK.
Their command ability that's based to it is called Get 'em. Uh,
I love the names of orc stuff. It's so much fun.
yeah. At the end of the enemy charge phase, you pick a unit uh, that's 3 to 12 inches away and wholly within 18 of a friendly. And that unit can charge.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can charge in your enemy's command phase. That always catches people out.
yes,
I'm.
exactly. It's huge.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, the thing that they wanted to go in and kill, now they've had to, like, you just blocked it because they charged in with their boys or a war chanter who had already done his job to tie him up. Or, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's you gotta, like, remember, get him.
Get the
Yeah,
get'ems. But yeah,
they start with an extra CP.
which is important
Uh,
now because
if they have
GHG.
a mega boss, it's only for the mega
Yeah,
boss.
but if you're running
Um,
Iron Suns, you're running a Crusher because that's what they do.
exactly.
And
Um,
and like I said, it's important now. They lost Aether Quartz, which
mhm.
really hurts them because they're a CP hungry army.
And then they also have the other, like, their artifact that they have to take is the best out of the artifacts you have to take. Attacks that target the bearer have their rend reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0.
Yeah, they took
Uh,
away our shields, made them better, and then gave them to orcs.
correct, yeah. Uh, so that on a Mega Boss Maw Crusher, because it also has to go on a Mega Boss.
Mm.
Uh, Pretty solid. Um,
Yep, this is very much their I'm doing this because it's fun list, because it promotes them using their less good heroes but the fun heroes.
mhm. And it makes them better. Like, it
Mm?
impactfully makes a Maw Crusher better.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a really good way to buff one. It makes them harder to kill by a lot. Gives them the abilities to just fly across the battlefield. They have a threat range of like 34ish, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, it's insane how fast these guys can move.
Blood Tooths, on the other hand, is the movement one. So they get +1 to run and charge. Like, they just get the Iron Jaw Allegiance ability twice.
Yep.
They get +1 to run and charge. Then at the end of combat phase, they can pick a unit that's already fought and is wholly within 24 inches of a hero, and now they get to move. They can't retreat or run, so they have to have killed themselves free.
Yeah, so it's a less
Uh,
effective version of
Mad as hell.
no, the really good one that lets them fight run,
Oh,
fight,
yes,
charge.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it works in concert with Mad as hell because in theory they've taken damage.
Mm,
Uh,
oh, that's actually pretty scary.
exactly, because in theory the unit that's killed themselves free, they probably took some damage at some point. So now they get to move from that. Now they're in range potentially of 24, and they can just do a normal move. So the ability for them to, like, sneak past your lines with this sub faction is scary good.
Hmm.
Um, they get the realm gates, which adds to the dice results when using the wall.
As long as you
If
have.
there's a Balfour realm gate on the table,
Yeah, and I've only ever seen one once, and that's because I was playing at a store that was promoting them.
mm,
So yeah, if you
uh,
have the terrain model, it, there's rules for putting it on the table now. And then,
yeah, yeah,
and then their artifact lets them free teleport once per battle.
yeah, which is huge.
Yep.
Like, it's automatically cast, cannot be unbound. Great Green Handagorg.
Hmm.
Um, so I like Blood Tooth is also good, and it doesn't force you to take a mega boss. Um,
It does
I
if
guess
you
the
want the free
artifact does
teleport.
though.
So
Yeah.
less. Yep. But yeah, and the choppas, I'm not sure if we should talk about them because it's a temporary one, and they seem fairly gimmicky. You probably won't see them.
Pre-roll charge roll. Yeah, they're not great. They're okay. I don't think we'll see them. And I know some events don't allow White Dwarf rules for whatever reason.
Mostly because they're temporary,
Yeah, that's fair.
and they aren't
Uh,
terribly well balanced because of that.
yeah, and I think they're frequently designed around, like, a particular narrative often.
Hmm. Which
Um,
I'm all for.
Yeah, I am hopeful that the Jaws of Mork Gloomspite gets will be allowed at events
Yes,
because
because
Gloomspite's kind of bad anyways.
mhm, they kind of need it.
Now that you can only have three endless spells.
Yeah, they desperately need it, and squigs are fun, and everyone likes
Yeah,
squigs, and now squigs are good. But I think that covers Iron Jaws. They're not the best thing in the book, at least not anymore, but they can do their job, and they can do it well if you let them.
hmm this is Bone Splitters is the one that my friend plays. Um,
we go
they've got
we go from heavily armored god seekers to no armored god seekers who like to get high
yeah,
and shoot people. A
they've
ranged arm.
also got five allegiance abilities, but most of them are kind of eh. Tireless Tracker is great. At the start of the first battle round, before it actually happens, um,
Free extra 5 inches of movement.
yeah, so it happens right after setup, so you don't actually know who's um, like it's before whoever gets to choose who goes first makes that decision.
Hmm.
But they get to
But yet,
pick a
it
bunch of
can
units and move them 5 inches.
yep, it can do a lot to mess up your opponent's deployment because they, especially if they don't know you can do it,
Yep,
because you deploy and then you change your deployment by a
yep,
lot. Moving half your army 5 inches can shift things around quite heavily, or just get
yeah,
you there that much sooner.
yeah. Especially if you're running like the dual rogue idol. Um,
Mm?
yeah, war paint
It
is
essentially
just a 6+ save
it
for
essentially
wounds and
takes
mortal.
their 6 up saves and makes it a 5 up save.
Yeah, because now they have it twice.
Yep.
But the fact that it also works on mortal wounds is important.
Yep.
Monster Hunter doesn't normally come up uh, unless
Be-
you kill their rogue idol and then it technically triggers.
yeah. The thing
Uh,
is, monsters aren't good, so monsters aren't played, so this never comes up.
exactly. But if a friendly bone splitter unit's within 3 inches of an enemy monster when it chooses to fight, before it piles in, you can pick one of three different things. Wild Abandon lets it move an extra 3 inches. Stab, stab, stab adds one to hit rolls. Uh, Berserk Strength makes unmodified wound rolls. On a 6, inflict a mortal wound in addition.
Yeah, the thing it's weird. I don't understand Wild Abandon because you have to be within 3 inches, and yet it lets you pile in more than 3 inches.
Yeah, so being within 3 inches but being able to pile in 6 inches is really useful for like boars that have a big base,
Oh, okay, yeah.
um, and that type of thing.
It
It
lets you
doesn't help
surround
as
them,
much. Yeah, yeah,
but again, you're not going to encounter monsters often.
yep. So it won't come up, which is the other thing they have. Spirit of the Beast. They don't take battle shock if they're within enemy monsters, or if they slay an enemy monster.
Hmm?
Um, so it could matter depending on how the meta shifted. It mattered a lot more when Keepers of Secret were everywhere.
Yep.
Um, and it still might help you some if like you manage to kill Catacross or Archon the Black. Um,
Yeah. So if you are running Thunderquake, these guys are a thing to look out for because all of their good abilities that they never use, they can use against you.
yes, and particularly if you're running Thunderquake with Bastillodons, there's a particular subfaction we'll get to that you
Yeah.
absolutely have to watch out
You shouldn't be,
to.
but if you do, watch out.
Yep. Bone Splitter's Wah is
The
the
same thing.
same. Yep.
You're actually probably more likely to do better with it because they actually do run smaller units. If
Yes.
they aren't running a rogue idol, which they should be, but especially with their big stabbas, are I forget, are their big stabbas run 2 or 3?
I want to say they're into 3, and then they get the Death Fling thing.
Yeah, they
Uh,
are an amazing unit. Like their
Savage
melee
Orc.
salamanders only better and cheaper.
Savage Big Stabbers. 3 attacks, threes and threes, Ren 2 D3. So yeah, they're melee salamander.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but they are cheaper, and they do only have a 6+ save though. But that may or
I
may not
mean,
matter.
yeah, that doesn't matter. Anything was going to kill salamanders, anything's going to kill them. They charge
Yep.
forward, they put a huge chunk in whatever they're hitting, and then when you kill them, they put another huge chunk into you.
Yes. Uh, Bone Splitters. The only things that you can take there's Bone Splitters is an interesting army because they've got 3 heroes, one resin mounted hero, uh, foot box that just has savage orcs that can be built a bunch of different ways, and a box with mounted pig guys that can be built a bunch of different ways. Um, so they have a really limited collection that ends up building a fairly broad army,
Mm?
but they've basically only got 3 heroes. Um, and so their command traits are split between a Wargog Prophet or a Savage Big Boss, and then
Yeah.
the Shaman.
Yeah.
Um, and they're all pretty good. Like you can get +1 casting and unbinding and dispelling, and put it on a Wargog or a Shaman.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very similar to Iron Jaws. You're probably not going to see Savage Big Boss. You're going to see a lot of their priests and little of their wizards.
the main reason you'll see Savage Big Boss is because it's a requirement for Cunning Ruck.
Mm. And Cunning Rock is fun.
Um, yeah, yeah, and it's pretty solid. Um, Teeth might be better, which is their Staba one, but Stabas aren't battle line, and you're already looking at 840 points going into Rogue Idols for a lot of Bone Splitter list. Uh,
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's a good army, and I'm glad
Hmm.
that they threw it into Total War as well. They're such a fun unit.
Yes. All their artifacts are pretty solid. The mask, where is it? Yeah. So there's a couple that I really like. I like the big Wargug mask, which is pick an enemy unit within 12 inches during the hero phase, roll 3 dice, each 2+ inflicts D3 mortal wounds. Each one you take D3 mortal wounds, but it's really easy to fling something across the table, um, and then deal 4 mortal wounds to it to finish something off.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that one a lot. They've got Mork's Bony Bits, which is just another +1 to casting, or
Or
plus
plus two
two
if
if
you're
there's
using
2 or more
monsters.
enemy monsters. Yeah, which doesn't happen. Like it might, but it probably won't.
Again,
Um,
careful Thunderquake people.
but what it all adds up to is, in some situations, you might be looking at a Wargog Prophet with its base, its Rogue Idol buff, its trait buff, and its artifact, giving it a +4 to cast. Um, so Bone Splitters has some legitimate casting, and you can totally build an endless spell Bone Splitter army that way. Um,
Yep, and they want the bonuses to cast because it's called Breath of Gorkamorka, isn't it? The the big
yes,
scary
yes, yes.
spell.
Yeah. Uh, so there's actually 3 that you kind of want to go off, but Breath of Gorkamork is the one that you want to always make sure you have an unbind for. It only goes off on a 6+, so it's pretty easy when, at most cases, you're going to have +2 to cast to get it off. For them,
Yep.
they pick a friendly Bone Splitter unit within 24. It gets to double its movement, and it can fly.
And if you roll
If the
doubles on the
casting,
dice,
yes,
it triples its movement.
and flies. Uh, so on a Rogue Idol, who got to move 5 inches at the start of the game,
Mm-hmm.
then it moves 10, gets to double it. Now it's moving 20 inches, and it can fly. And then Wardocs can do other things to make a move.
Yeah,
Um,
it's ridiculous. Their boar boys can, I believe, get up to 48 movement.
yeah, and it's possible to make a Rogue Idol fly and move 36 inches. Um,
Which is insane and wonderful.
yes. There's Brutal Beast Spirits, which adds 1 to run and charge rolls and hit rolls. If you rolled a double, you get to choose 2 units instead of 1. So both Rogue Idols. Um, yeah, and then there's another movement one I thought. Oh no! It's add +1 to save. It's Cunning Beast Spirits.
Yep.
So those are the 3 spells that you're going to frequently see thrown out onto a Rogue Idol before they launch it across the table at you.
Yep, 3 up, 5 up is a really good save characteristic, and it hurts
Yes.
when it hits you. So, have
Yeah,
fun.
because it's going to have +1 to run and charge and hit rolls. That's real scary,
Hmm.
especially since I think overall the Rogue Idol. Yeah, wounds on 2 with its punches. So now you're at 2s and 2s, 2 attacks are into d6. And then 10 attacks, 2s and 3s are into 2 damage.
And
They
rerolling
hurt.
ones because they charge.
Exactly. So they're pretty much hitting with everything. Like, it's unlucky for them if one of their 10 attacks misses, like
Yeah.
after rerolls.
Yeah, they've got.
Uh,
Overall, orcs can become really consistent. Like, we'll
yes.
get to Big Wa, but it's rare to see them miss, and it's rare to see them not wound. So if they get in there, they're doing the damage.
Yeah. They've got 3 clans. 2 of them are whatever. Like, you would take them for casual play.
Yeah.
There's some movement and command ability stuff. One's built around boars, the other's built around killing monsters.
And see above
Dakfoot,
statement.
yeah. Drakfoot, though, is the one clan that you're going to see people run often. Their base trait is ethereal effects. They don't exist. Uh,
Which does.
so Night Hunt, Bellacore, uh, there's a couple different things, especially when Ethereal Amulet was running around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Dakfoot was huge. Um,
Yep.
the
I don't think it's as necessary as back when Ethereal Amulet was around, because with against Ghost, you just win more.
Yeah, but the other thing it does in the warding is in addition to that, you don't get save after saves.
Which
So
is
like Deathless
really important.
Minions, Croak, like Croak's the big one for us.
Daughters of
Um,
Cain.
yeah, Daughters of Cain, Fire Slayers. There's a bunch of armies that rely on their save after save, and that's why you see Drakfoot more often than not if you see Bone
Yeah,
Splitters.
other bone splitters, like
Yeah, yep.
two rogue idols clashing in the middle of the field with no after save. They're gonna kill each other.
Yep. Their command ability is pretty good. It's shut down the magic. If an enemy wizard casts a spell, you can pick a unit of 10 or more models within 18, and they get to try to unbind as if they're a wizard, and they do it with a +1 if the unit has 20 or more models. Cunning Ruck is a fairly frequent battalion that has an 18-inch range if you're using shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see Arrow Boys and it's in Cunning Ruck, just know that if they want it to be, because they don't have much to use their command points on, it's a +1 to unbind from that unit for dispelling spells. Like it actually, I've seen it used most of the games I've seen Drakfoot played. Um,
Yep. And then burn and tattoo. It's a thing. Moving on.
yep. Big Wa is basically both of those things smashed together.
Yep.
Um,
It's where all orcs get together and they fight really well. Like really,
yep.
really well. When I was saying
So
before, it's rare to see any orc not hit and wound on twos in a great big Wa.
yeah, they've basically got a table where as they do things like making a charge move, killing something in combat, getting a prayer off, getting a chant off, having War God prophets on the table, having War chanters on the table, all those things
Or
give them different amounts of
or
wall
more
points.
likely just use here we go twice.
Yeah, or use here we go twice. They'll gain wall points real quick, and they'll probably never spend them. At the end, once you've got like 20, 24 points, you can use your wah. And then it has a chance to reset your wah points, or has a chance to not do anything to your wall points.
Or just
Um,
have them. They probably use them like right at the end or in a really crucial moment where they can
yeah,
just
if they need to.
if they really need to, they can do so.
Yep,
And but they don't have to because it gives them
it's
+1
just
to hit,
wah.
+1 to wound, +1 to charge. It gives them the Madazel. It gives them
Generally speaking, 2 attacks at 2s and 2s is better than 3 attacks at 3s and
yeah,
3s.
but they don't lose it until after the combat. So
That's true. Yeah, yeah. At the end of the combat phase,
so
roll the
it's
dice.
3 attacks, 2s and 2s with the possibility of losing your points.
Yeah. But yeah, they're crazy. Um, they don't have smash and bashing like Iron Jaws. They don't get the free movement,
Uh,
But
like I said, they do.
otherwise,
Their first ability gives them mad as
oh,
hell.
the free movement from Bone Splitters,
Oh, okay, that's what you meant.
the 5 inches at the start.
Yep.
Um, but otherwise, it's basically all of the traits smashed together. And by their turn two, they probably will have unlocked the entire table.
Mm.
Um,
It used to be they could easily unlock it turn one, but not so much anymore.
yeah, now that's not the case. Now it's around turn two, um, which is good. Like I think that's way better for the game.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
The standout units, I would say, like Rogue Idol for everyone, always Rogue Idol.
Mm.
For Iron Jaws, you want to kill War Chanters.
Yeah. Like I said, they are
Uh,
one of the best buff heroes in the game.
yeah, you want to kill War Chanters, and in general, you want to kill their heroes because you want to deny their command abilities.
Because the
They're
command
command
abilities are
point
good.
hungry, but they're all really good.
Hence why they're command point hungry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
That said, most of their stuff is actually pretty difficult to kill if you
yeah,
put
yeah,
it one to one with other heroes of their type. So, as we've always said, kill what you can, not what needs killing.
yep. Uh, for Bone Splitters, if they're bringing Rogue Idols, if you for some reason are given first turn, the things you want to kill, in my experience, are not the Rogue Idols. You want to kill the Shaman and the War Dog. Um, Kill those buff heroes, and then go for their T-shirt saves. Start killing their Arrow Boys. Start killing their Savage Orcs, and just ignore the Rogue Idols. Um, Except that they're going to slap you around a bunch, beat them on objectives,
Mm.
kill their heroes so that they can't gain crazy mobility. Um, and you should do fine. Uh,
We have the tools to fight them on an even footing.
yep.
Like, if you decide to go melee, like I so much enjoy, you're gonna have a rough time. But
Yeah.
there are ways to deal with them. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. We completely forgot to talk about battalions. There's two battalions that matter for Iron Jaws, in my opinion.
mm.
One's the Ard Fist. It got severely nerfed. It's more expensive. I want to say it's like 140 now, but I could be wrong. Uh, the way it used to work is if you had a War Chant in the unit, then you'd have 3 to 5 units of Orc Ard Boys. When an Orc Ard Boy unit from the battalion died, you could roll a dice on a 4+, spend a command point, and then set an identical unit up. And it didn't used to say identical; it used to say a unit of 10 Ard Boys up, totally within 6 inches
Which
of the
means you
table
could
edge.
get more hard boys than you
More
started
than
with.
9, yeah. Uh, so what you used to be able to do is spend a command point, roll for Aethercore's Brooch. Oh, cool! I got the command point back. Set up that unit, a unit of 10 because a unit of 5 died,
Mm-hmm.
and then spend another command point. So you could keep doing that. Um, it's all been changed, so it's way less good than it used to be.
Yep.
Aether Quartz is gone, like everyone knows. Now it has to be identical,
Which
and it's no longer part of the battalion.
the
The unit that
identical
comes
bit
back.
actually could be a boon because you could bring back a 20 man, but
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, overall not as good as it once was.
Yep. And it's no longer part of the battalion, so you can't continually recycle it. So that one's still pretty common because that's something that's always going to be included. There's always going to be a War Chanta. There's always going to be 3 to 5 units of Ard Boys because that's their battle line. So the Ard Fist, super common. The other one that's going to be crazy common is the Iron Fist, which we did talk about a bit. You pick a Brute Boss or Grunter Boss.
Mm-hmm.
It gets +2 to its wound characteristics. Once in each of your hero phases, you get to use Mighty Destroyer, which is that move, again, command ability,
Mm-hmm.
for free. So it doesn't cost the command point.
Yep.
And that's 3 to 5 Brutes, Grunts, or Ard Boys. So Iron Fist will be pretty common as well.
Yep. Especially because they like their artifacts and they need the CP.
Yep. Iron Suns has its own specific battalions. They're whatever. The Dakbad's Brawl. Uh, I could see happening. It's just buffing up brutes and mega bosses. Um, it's okay.
Yep.
Bone Splitters, there's two major ones you're going to see. Cunninruck, which is a savage big boss, and then 2 to 5 units of savage orcs or orc arrow boys. The reason you see this is because for free, it either gets to fight 1 unit from the battalion, or it gets to shoot. So a lot of times you'll see arrow boys taken, because it is limited. You can only have
Up to
the
20
max unit
models.
size is 20 models instead of 30. But you frequently see 20 arrow boys that get to shoot twice, and then they have exploding fives, and they can actually pick some stuff off.
Hmm?
Um, so Cunning Ruck Arrow Boys is the main one that you'll see. Outside of that is Teeth Ruck, which is +1 to the attacks of all the big stabbers.
Which
Uh,
they don't need more, but they got more.
yeah. So then they're at 4 attacks, and you can bring 2 to 5 units of them, and you can bring a unit of big stabbers as a unit of, I want to say 3, um, or maybe it's more now. I think it might be 4. I think they can be taken in units of 4. Um, yeah, big stabbers are great. I'm actually going to pull up the app. Do, do, do. Destruction. Bonus blows. Okay.
Minimum 2
So,
units, maximum 8 units.
yeah, and they're 100 points per
8
base.
models.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 points for 2 of them.
Exactly.
That's not
Yeah.
bad. That's actually really good.
So that's 6 attacks, threes and threes, run 2d3 damage. Or in Cunning Rock,
8
8
attacks.
attacks.
Yep.
uh, yeah. So Teeth Rock is definitely a thing. Um, Normally you see that instead of a Rogue Idol, though, versus in concert,
Yeah.
because they're not battle line.
Yeah, mainly
And all
it's
those
when
things
you
are
want to
expensive.
be in more than one place at once or have more than one
Yep.
chance of killing what you're throwing it at.
Yes, but that the teeth rock big stabbers have a 5 inch movement. They get to move 5 at the start of the game. You can get the prayer off that lets them move, so now they're moving 10.
And
You
if
can
they
give them
die, they
fly.
throw their spear at you.
Yeah, it's like the final fling or something.
Mm.
Each enemy model, when they're slain, they get to make an attack as if they were attacking before they're removed from play. Pick an enemy unit within 3 inches, roll a dice on a 2+. If it's a monster, or 4+. If it's not a monster, it deals D3 mortal wounds. Um,
They're just so goofy. I love them.
yeah, they're good. Um, I like the Stabbas more than the Rogue Idols, but I think the Rogue Idols are better.
Yeah. Well,
Just
everything in.
just having a 4+ save, because I think point for outcome, it's the same number of points for wounds, and for roughly the same amount of damage,
Mhm.
but it's the difference between a 4+ save and a 6+ save,
And,
and 10-inch movement versus 5-inch movement.
and a 5 up after save as opposed to a 6 up
Exactly.
after save.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
the one thing that I do want to talk about is all of these models. They have a very limited model range, but all of these models are great.
oh yeah, yeah. Both for Iron Jaws and for Bone Splitters.
They just look so cool. They hold up super well. I know orcs are just as disappointed as we are to not get anything new, and like nothing new. They didn't even get a bad building, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah.
That, my friend who plays War Clans, like he used to play Iron Jaws with the old Iron Jaws book.
Hmm.
And then he was playing Iron Jaws when the book came out. He was super disappointed when the book first came out. And I was always under the opinion like, no, this is a good book. But he was just upset because he didn't get anything new, and the army lost the entirety of its old identity.
Oh
Like
wow, that
it
sounds
used
very
to be,
familiar, doesn't it?
I know, right? But it used to be like you would cycle off on your command points with Aether Quartz and a bunch of other stacking, so that you could like wah 12 times. Each
And
time
get
you
like
did, it
9
added an
attacks.
attack. Yeah, so you'd have like 14 attack Gore Gruntas. Uh,
It wasn't
yeah,
it wasn't any
as their
good,
base
but it was a
weapon.
lot of fun. Oh wait, that also sounds familiar. Gosh darn it.
I mean, it was pretty good. He did decently well with it.
Hmm.
Uh, but the new book is absolutely better than what the old book used to be.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I,
yeah,
I, I can see them getting new stuff in the future. Everyone's hoping for October, but I don't think that was ever really a thing.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they got like another minor hero or something. What I think Bone Splitters needs is a combat mounted hero. Because at the moment they only have the Maniac, which is a wizard hero.
Hmm.
Uh, and he's cool like that. The Maniac is a good hero in and of himself, even if you're not running him in a cav list. But they don't really have a good way to like just run cavalry for Bone Splitters.
Hmm.
So I think Bone Splitters could use like a cavalry buffing hero. Um, I think what Iron Jaws need is a horde unit, like
Like a proper
maybe
like
some
bringing grots with them.
exactly like some armored grots that
Oh,
have
that
a
actually
4+ save.
that could be actually a lot of fun.
Yep, that I think would be cool for Iron Jaws. On in terms of wish listing. Um, but in terms of like knowing what to look out for, if they're bone splitters, they're probably Drakfoot. They're probably running Tief Ruck or Cunning Ruck. Their rogue idols will get to you turn one. Like you have to stop those spells. You need to know to be waiting for those spells to save your unbinds for those
Yep.
spells. And
Measure the base size. Make sure your
yep,
screens are just far enough away to prevent that from happening.
yep. And then pray to Sotek that you can unbind their spells.
Yep.
Um,
Well, we've got a good chance, but even then, it's a top coin flip.
yeah, generally speaking, we're going to have to beat their dice roll by one on our dice roll,
Hmm.
which gives us about a 45% chance of unbinding.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're gonna be duking it out with orcs in the magic phase,
yep.
which is super unlore friendly, but it's kind of awesome.
Yeah. Uh, in terms of Iron Jaws, I think they're one of our easier matchups to play against out of the three.
It's really easy to
Um,
bog them down. They have few units with few models. It's easy to beat them
yep.
on objectives. The thing is, do not get bogged down in melee. Do not play the orc game, because the
Yes.
orc game will beat you.
Well, and the all things considered, like even though our combat side does have a hard time standing toe to toe with them,
Actually, if our combat,
our allegiance ability completely negates their war chanta.
if you are running coalesced, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're doing combat coalesced, uh, you're completely negating that.
Hmm.
Um,
Actually, even without coalesced, a full source list, provided you do your job and hit them first, can go toe to toe with a melee grinder one.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, the key to Big Wah is to try and make them
Wah.
uh, Wah as hard as you can early, and do so in such a way that you're left alive.
Hmm.
Uh, like it's all easier said than done.
We are glass cannons. They are generally more durable than us. Hit them hard as you can, as soon as you can, and hope
And
to
they're
pick
a
up the
bit
pieces.
more cannony than us as well.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, like I said, they're the best grinder army in the game. I think they
yep,
edge out Mortek and can do a good job against Fire Slayers, but only because they have way more models.
yeah. I will say, I think Mortis Praetorians should beat most uh, Big Wah or Orc War Clan list. Um, but that's because of the debuffing magic.
And because of the double CP spending.
Exactly. Um, orcs, all of orcs need their command points to really function. So one of the goals early on is to make your opponent burn through their command points
Yeah.
quickly.
Make the mice them.
Um, yeah, and it's probably not going to be too hard to do that because a lot of orc players are,
Smash!
um, yeah,
Smash!
yeah, yep. So if you can draw them out, try and get them separated from their heroes, try and make them overextend. But as always, focus the
Yeah.
objectives.
And
Like
and
the
a
objectives
really
is the main.
yeah, and a really good thing that I kept using back in our old book against Mighty Destroyers. Make sure you have a 10-man unit of skinks at just inside of 9 of everybody.
Yeah, yep,
Because if they don't get because they were going to move that far anyway, and they're much more likely to fail a 9-inch charge than they are to fail a 3-inch charge after they
yes.
moved closer.
The other thing you want to be careful about as well, though, In terms of counterplay, when you place your units, you don't want to give them the ability to slingshot, where because they've got frequently +3 to charging,
Mhm.
where you want them to be in your face when they're charging and not like 6 inches away, where they're going to slingshot and get one model within a half inch of you, and then throw a bunch of other stuff in an entirely different direction. Um, you have to watch out for slingshot shot charging with orcs because they have such good bonuses to it,
Mhm. Yeah.
especially for blood twos.
Oh goodness. They are so much faster than they look on paper.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Um,
Think that covers most of it. Anything else?
that was all my thoughts on the army.
I like orcs. I like orc players. They're a lot of fun.
Yes. Most of them, yeah, the three in my area that I've played most often are normally pretty chill guys. Sometimes chemically induced.
Yeah, that fits destruction. Alrighty. Well, if that is all, the jungle is calling me home, but thank you for talking today with me, Wizard. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And you all have a wonderful night.